And you don't even realize how it's all correlated. This is why I say it's our health, our wealth, or our relationships. And they're all correlated to what I would call the 4 pillars of our body, which is our mental self, our emotional self, our physical self, and our... Hey everybody, welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. I am Julie Murphy, the money chick. We either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, and our relationships. And/or I'll say. Rita Hickman is here. She and I talk all the time about how we see people working or acting things out, and how to actually get to a point to working it out so that you evolve as the next best version of yourself. And I would ask if you could please subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell, not only for my channel, but also for Rita's, because guess what? The synergies help. And if you know anyone struggling, send them our way. And if you have questions, anything, we do read the comments on our videos and stuff. So we are here to help. So Rita, we've been seeing a lot these days.
You know, we talked about this. We said the next 5 years is just going to escalate. I mean, I don't know about you, but around me, violence has been escalating just even out in public. You know, I live in a sleepy podunk Northern Illinois town that's, you know, rural, and we had a drive-by shooting a month and a half, 2 months ago. I mean, that never happened.
By my parents' house the other day.
Right, exactly. I'm worried about my folks because they're in the corridor between Chicago and Milwaukee, you know, where there's a lot of gang activity, a lot of stuff going on. Everything is escalating. And in fact, I had before I hopped on today, I had an emergency call with one of my clients and her current boyfriend.
Right.
And he's a firefighter. So he's got tons of PTSD and trauma. And and she comes from her own relationship PTSD, you know, abuse as a child, and then it turns into abusive relationships. And
I'd like to tell people that that's called, you've taught me, this is called a trauma bond, right? So it was, you know, I'm very left brain. I pull everything up to my brain, right? I'm in finance. But it was helpful for me to understand that the relationship, people would say like, well, why do they stay hooked? Why do they stay in that thing? And it's because it's a trauma bond. So once we start to understand that it's not something that is easily peeled away from, you know, it's something you have to do over time. It's building a muscle. It's not like a machete and you're out and you're done. Like, you have to build the muscle of the new you.
So what was it like the first time you tried to cut sugar out of your life?
You get a sugar headache. You get a headache, right? And then you eat it again, and then your headache's fine. It's like, because your physical body is not used to going in that way. Oh, you are smart. I know what you're getting at.
We have an addiction to the chemicals of drama. Our body gets addicted to it when we're in dramatic situations time after time after time. Our body craves being at a high level of stimulation because it wants its hit of adrenaline and cortisol.
Right.
So many times when we're in the middle of a fight with someone, it's our addiction, their addiction, and our addiction to the cortisol and the adrenaline that's causing the problem. More than it is what's actually being said or happening. And so someone saying something as simple as yes can become a nuclear bomb. You know, so it's really, it's not about what people are saying as much as it's about the story they're making up because of how they feel. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. So I can actually attest to this myself. When I started dating somebody after my divorce, he would say, you know, it makes no logical sense why you're there. And he goes, like, it's almost as if like you're addicted to the drama. You're addicted to the chaos. You're addicted. And I was like, what? I don't have any addictions. I like don't even drink. Like, I'm like as clean as a button. And
right, because you're clean as a button, your only addiction that you have is the emotional drama. You got nothing else.
Right? So so then I started to realize going, okay, and I did understand that I could do better when I was working out all the time. I would always like be able to manage what was going on better and detach from it. And then I started really realizing going, oh, like take the relationship piece completely out. Oh, I have inflammation, and oh, that's not really actually fat, it's inflammation. And it was because of all the cortisol going through my body. And so then I started, going, oh, Epsom salt baths decrease because it's the magnesium that decreases the cortisol in your body. I've now realized, like, this is going to be funny, but I couldn't even poop. Like, you get constipated, and it's like everything's held so tight because the cortisol's driving. Like, the fact that addicted to drama, can't really stop it, your body starts shutting down, tightening up, and you don't even realize how it's all correlated. This is why I say it's our health, our wealth, or our relationships. And they're all correlated to what I would call the 4 pillars of our body, which is our mental self, our emotional self, our physical self, and our spiritual self. And that's why when you're trying to work out your money stuff, when you're trying to work out your relationship stuff or your health stuff, you've got to do all 4 pillars. You have got to look at all 4 pillars because you have to. So the minute I started to realize this cortisol thing with your help, Rita, that I started to like make sure I was taking Epsom salt baths and I drink that calm stuff that's magnesium and doing. I also realized I just got back from a trip to Costa Rica and working with the shamans, and I realized there I was like, oh, I've always hated yoga flow classes. Vinyasa flow, couldn't stand them. I now realize the reason I didn't like them was because I was not flowing. Like literally not even my body processing food properly or, sweating properly or, pick it, right? And so that is my next layer here that I've realized that to get to the really, like, because I'm at the last strings of shifting my physical body, like the very last pieces. And I know me going into flow classes, and I've realized they're like, I hate them because they flow so fast. I'm like, I can't do that. And that drives me crazy. And so what was interesting is then I found slow flow classes on my Peloton. I have a Peloton treadmill. And so I realized, because that's meeting me where I'm at, because one of the things that, Rita, you have taught me is that we have to create a safe container for us. You had recommended to me early on, or actually I felt guilty about moving me and my kids into a hotel room. And you helped me realize that what you did is you just created a safe container for everybody to heal and to get to the next place. And I even need to do that with the kind of exercise I'm doing, because I even realized that because I had realized that exercise was so good for my body and it was processing that cortisol, but then I turned it into like this mission, and then I was generating more cortisol because I was pushing myself too hard working out because I was an athlete, and then I was generating more cortisol. Like, do we see how we like screw ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah, we screw ourselves 10 times to Sunday because our brain tells us that the source of our problem is outside of ourselves. It's something this person is doing. It's something this person is saying. I mean, for example, this morning I woke up, I got a letter from the Small Business Association. I had applied for a little bit more cash through the COVID relief thing. And because of because they were overwhelmed, nothing got done. I ended up getting rejected and denied, and because the website was shut down. Right. And I was mad about that this morning when I woke up and I first saw that. Mm-hmm. But the first thing that I did was get up, get dressed, go for a walk.
Right.
Because the answer isn't about the Small Business Association. It's not about the ex. It's not about the kids. It's not about the job. It's about how you feel.
Right.
And when you feel good, you can handle life. and everybody else's drama, everybody else's addictions, everybody else's problems, because you're safe and stable. But when you neglect your own needs, when you neglect yourself, then it just blows up your life. You're never going to get ahead. We were talking about earlier how I had an emergency phone call this morning from a couple. As I said, he was a fireman and she had past trauma. And one of the things is when we're angry, the cortisol monster inside of us wants to get that hit, wants to get that adrenaline. It takes a force of will to stop eating sugar, to stop yelling at somebody or nasty texting them. It's like you have to have the force of the universe behind you to keep you stabilized so you can make the right decision and calm down. Because when you're angry, you don't want to calm down. You want to send an angry text.
And I don't even know if you, like, I witnessed somebody in a place of rage this past week. When you're so tripped by your cortisol, I don't even think you can come out of it in that moment. Now when you're at that level.
Only if you've prepared for it. Because we'll all have those moments of rage if we have suppressed trauma. And if you're prepared that this is going to happen, then you can allow it to be a healing. You can go the deepest you've ever gone by touching those deepest nerves where you're, and that's what brings up the rage.
So do you think
an opportunity?
Yeah. So do you think that if a person can recognize that they are addicted to the drama?
Yeah.
Do you feel that that is a sign that they have some suppressed trauma?
Yes, absolutely.
So what would you recommend to people? Like, okay, so now you're at that place of awareness, right? You're like,
yes.
Okay, I'm addicted to the drama. Now what?
Now you stick sticky notes everywhere and you put crystals and oils and flowers and memories and metaphors and butterflies to remind yourself when you do get hijacked that this is just your addiction and you have a strategy for how you're going to handle it. You know, it's good to pay attention to your cues. You know, once you recognize that, okay, this is me, then the next thing you need to do is pay attention to your cues and have an environment that will help you calm down. Right. It's like a timeout room. You have to create a timeout room for yourself.
Right.
And if you use that space before you turn something into a fight, which your body's telling you, just say this thing, just say this thing, do this thing. Your body's compelling you.
Right.
But if you see that little note that says, wait, we don't do this anymore, and there's a little bottle of essential oil underneath it, and you notice the note and you say, I told myself, I promised myself I'd smell this oil when I was angry before I texted back, it'll calm you down and you can make a better decision. But if you don't set anything up, you just keep doing everything the way you've always done, then you're going to get hijacked after hijacked after hijacked. And it's your own fault.
Only increase.
And it's your own fault for not taking good care of yourself and prioritizing your emotional needs first by treating yourself how you were supposed to be treated when you were originally traumatized instead of how you really were treated. You have to treat yourself better than you were treated. And it's not about attacking the other person. It's about telling yourself that you deserve love and giving yourself love until you feel better.
Right.
But we don't want to do that because we've been so trained to think it's everything else but something we can control. We feel helpless. And so we act out in that helplessness. When we're in the middle of a fight with somebody and they are over the top, they're not talking to you. They're talking to their abuser from when they were 5 or 4 or 2 or 1. So they're not talking to you. So they don't even see you. They don't even know who you are. It's not reality. And so if you take it personally and you don't regulate your nervous system and go for your walk and calm yourself down, you're just destroying yourself until it turns into cancer or Parkinson's or migraine headaches or.
And this is where I want people to really hear this. Like, it does turn into that. So I know I've dealt with people who have millions and millions of dollars. I've helped people that have just been thousands and thousands of dollars in debt and don't have any money. And the thing that is consistent across the board as a human being is if you don't learn to work it out, whether it's you're creating all these debts and you have all these debt patterns, or this relationship stuff, it all is based on your trauma from your childhood or some form of rejection from your childhood that hardwired in your subconscious brain that at this moment in time is trying to come out and be healed. And you can't ignore it forever, or you will develop disease in your body and you will die.
Guaranteed.
Like, this is how it works.
And you will suffer mercilessly before you die, because your body keeps shutting down and eating itself and fighting itself.
And that's where autoimmune diseases are way up. And that, yep.
Yes.
And so we think it's as easy as go on a diet and go like exercise. Nope. You will not create, because I will tell you, I have been on, I don't even know how many diets. And I'll get down, but then I'll blow right back up. And it's funny, even in the relationship that I'm in today, he will say, he's like, well, I'm going to do this. And for the last few years, I just kept going, I'm going after the energy that's creating the fat in the first place. I'm going after the energy that's creating the fat in the first place. Because I do eat well. I do. Do I have pizza once in a while? Yeah. Do I have chocolate once in a while? Yeah. I go, but compared to most human beings, I eat pretty damn good. I don't do the drive-thrus. I don't, I drink mostly water and tea. I don't even do caffeine. I don't do pop. I don't do alcohol anymore. And so it would make no sense why the weight would stay on my body. And it wasn't until I really started going after the energy of this trauma, because it's just unprocessed emotions actually going on inside of our guts.
It's just a physical reaction. I mean, when you think about something that upsets you, everybody, their body releases adrenaline and cortisol, their heart starts beating faster, their blood vessels narrow, their heart has to work harder, their skin tightens up, the blood vessels on their skin narrow, hence why many people have fibromyalgia if they had childhood trauma and chronic stress. It's a physical reaction to yourself. Right. And just like a nasty, disgusting little cesspool that hasn't had any clean water flowing through it, that's your body when you're under stress.
Yep.
And the only way to clean it out is to start getting fresh water in. And that fresh water is when you decide to do something nice for yourself rather than attack the other person, or to stand up for yourself instead of cowering in a corner and crying. Like maybe it's totally doing the opposite. I had a 350-pound Ojibwe spiritual mentor who said, if you don't know what to do, do the thing you haven't done before. Because if you continue to do your patterns, you're going to continue to get the same results. You have to blow up your own life before somebody else blows it up. And you have to do it in a way that's positive and life affirming, not in a way that puts you in a deeper hole than you were before.
Right? That's so true, because here's the thing. People will say, well, I divorced that person. Well, if you don't work on your stuff, you're marrying the same bird with a different name.
Oh, absolutely. And then your kids will be just like, your ex, and that'll always remind you. And then they'll have the same. You cannot escape this. This is what I was talking about this morning with my client. I said, look, you can't escape this. You're either going to do it in this relationship, you're going to do it by yourself, or you're going to do it someplace else.
Or go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, an interesting factoid is the best alcohol treatment centers. The first thing they do is they break your sugar addiction. Because it's your sugar addiction because alcohol is a simple sugar. It's your sugar addiction that is a physical, biological movement to keep drinking. You gotta, and then we make it up with, well, because I'm broken, and well, because I'm injured, and well, because I had trauma.
Whatever you want to make it.
The key is, if you break the sugar addiction, you will get stable. If you break your addiction to cortisol and adrenaline by choosing something different when you're stressed, you will get stable.
Well, and it's about the fact that those are all the sugar or whatever it is. Those are just your distractions because you're so afraid to feel those feelings that are stuck inside of yourself that that's just a distraction. You know, I realized that in a situation that I was in, I was like, oh, when these behaviors are happening over here with this other person, I'm getting lawsuits filed at me. I'm like, oh, that shit's happening over here. And then I'm like, so, and this was happening in a business relationship. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating to be able to see that. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand. Now I tactically know how to navigate.
Right. And you didn't feel helpless anymore. The thing that keeps everybody trapped is this feeling of helplessness because there was a time when you really were helpless. But you know what? You're an adult now and you're not helpless. And times have changed. There's technology, there's coaches, there's therapists, there's somatic body therapy, that we understand how healing works. We know how PTSD works. And if you feel helpless, it's because you believe you're helpless, not because it's true.
Right. 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 Right.
And
you
that's
have to believe
we have.
And it all starts with, the first step I walk all my clients through is dreaming the new dream. Like, picture the life that you actually want to have because that's your compelling reason for change. So if you want to have more of what you have, well, then keep doing what you're doing. But most of us don't. Most of us want a different reality. So I would encourage people who are listening to write down, like, in your relationships, what do you want? I had this one woman for years. She was single. She always wanted to get married. She wanted to have kids and everything. And I was like, well, 2 years ago, you and I brainstormed the list of what is your ideal relationship. Like, how do you feel? How do you want that person to show up for you? What kind of partnership do you want? And I said, where's that piece of paper? I'm like, she goes, I don't know. I think it's buried on my desk. I'm like, well, so is the dude. He's buried somewhere because you're not bringing it into your awareness that this is what you want to create. You're staying on the treadmill over here as opposed to really focusing on the creation of what you want to create.
But there's a physical addiction to staying in the drama. And so you have to be strategic and smart with yourself. You have to have strategies for what you're going to do when you're triggered. You have to have an environment around you that makes it easy to calm yourself down. You have to have habits in place that give you time to process.
So true.
Because if you're obsessing, worried, stressed out, fighting, people pleasing, disassociated, just working, what's happening is the little librarians can't put all the books away. And then you get confused and overwhelmed and lost. But if you take time for yourself, to go for a walk in the nature with a tree, and you do things that make your life beautiful, and you do fun things. You go on fun little adventures, and your home is something that inspires you, and you have a good network of friends. You can get through this.
You absolutely can. Well, and it's just, I said to somebody the other day from a financial, I do coaching, and every quarter I'm opening up a new session. So by all means, if anyone wants to join, go to juliemurphy.com and we'll let you know, because I'm going to do a summer one that starts in June. And it was funny. I said to this woman, I said, okay, can you allow yourself to be on the bridge? And what I mean by that is you're getting job offers, but it's not your ideal world. But because you don't have any cash coming in the door, you now are isolating, you're perpetuating your suffering pattern because you're being so stringent and so exact of what you want to manifest in the world that you're not giving yourself breathing room and a support system. So you're creating an unsafe environment for yourself so you can't expand. I said, could you do this? Consider this. Take that job that has most of what you want with the intention that you are using this job as a bridge to create financial space for yourself so that you can attend these other now live events to be around the people that are going to support you more to create the life that you want to live. Yep. And I was like, we have to give ourselves some grace, right? Give ourselves some space. Like, that's what the space does.
Nobody else is going to give it to us.
Right.
Not the ex, not the current, not the kids, not the job. Everybody's stressed out. Everybody's overwhelmed. Aggression is through the roof. Pedestrians are being killed, all the time. This is not going to get better. This is what I've been trying to tell people. This is not going to get better.
The zit is popping.
Yes. If you don't deal with your stuff now, it's going to get worse. You're going to suffer more, and you'll be like, oh no, I have this thing and now I have to deal with this thing. And it's as simple as, and people, they're like, really, it's as simple as that? I'm like, yes, it's as simple as that, but it's a priority shift. You have to go from people pleasing and surviving and following that craving, that addictive craving for cortisol and adrenaline. And you have to decide you want something different, and then get all the resources you need to make it happen.
Yep.
Don't give up on yourself, because the physical self changes slower than than let's say our mental self.
It's the last thing to shift.
Yep.
It's the absolute last thing. Well, it's because we don't, it's the most dense. It's the most dense part. And that's why while you're going through this, it's important to make sure you're working out 3 days a week. Make sure you're having green juices or smoothies 3 days a week. All of that stuff helps to move the physical.
Yes, it's just like taking a shit. It's just like that. You have to allow.
Tell me more.
Like the sex thing, isn't? You're like, really? I can heal through sex? Yes.
And yeah, you did say that to me, and it's so true. And I actually forwarded that advice. I'm like, oh, honey, you got to go read some tantric sex books, honey. I said, and bring that into life. And she goes, really? And we go, I'm telling you, it's going to shift your world. And what a fun way to heal.
You can here are your options. You can either get into a knockdown, drag out fight where, there's tons of drama and people are screaming in neighborhoods. I've done that. Yeah. I've been there. You can do it that way, or you can watch a funny movie, or you can, go hang out in the woods for a couple hours or for a weekend, or you can find a good friend and have a good conversation. Maybe you can talk to your coach. But you have a million different options, including a spa day, that are way better than getting in the middle of a fight with somebody, which just destroys your body, destroys your system. Make a better choice for yourself. Instead of allowing the information to come up and out, let it digest. Let it go through you so that you can see reality. I have a very strong rule for myself. If I'm saying something that's emotional, I'll let it come out of my mouth. But then the very next thing is I need to take care of myself. If I'm thinking these things, if I'm saying these things, that means that the only thing I need to do is to go chill out until I'm centered again. No matter what. I don't care if anybody likes it. I don't care if they feel abandoned. I don't care if it pushes their buttons.
Right.
Our priority is us, because as long as we are dysregulated, we are incapable of making good decisions that move us in the direction we want to go. And instead, we're allowing the lunatic to drive the bus and determine for us what our life looks like. That's bullshit.
So how do we get the lunatic to not run our lives?
You take control of your life again. You decide for yourself that you are more important than everybody else. And that sounds narcissistic, but you have to have a little bit of narcissism. You have to decide your emotional well-being is more important, and you prioritize that, because the lunatic is going to keep doing what they do, and it's going to get worse. You're going to get destroyed by their mental illness unless you make a choice for yourself that you're not going to allow yourself to be pulled into that drama. And you do whatever you need to do, like you did moving to a hotel room. You do whatever you have to do to get that space so you can be an adult again and not a wounded child.
So true. And it's all about healthy boundary holding.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of people, especially if you're a people pleaser or someone who likes to fix it. Boundary holding is not a natural thing for you. And that is also it's building a muscle. Mm-hmm. It's all about building muscle. So you just have to get to this place where you're okay with loving yourself more than anybody else in the whole wide world.
Anybody else, and not in a everybody gets to be screwed because I'm in a bad mood. but more that you realize that when you feel loving inside of yourself, when you feel compassion inside of yourself, that's where you're supposed to be. If you're not happy, then you're screwed up. And you need to do something about it, because you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be healthy. Your body's designed to support you for happiness and health. And we keep sabotaging it by the choices we make and derailing ourselves so that we don't feel happy, we don't feel joyful. And then we make decisions that keep us in that space of anger, and it's everybody else's fault and I'm helpless. Oh no, I know, but you're not. And it's okay, but you're not helpless.
Right. Taking your personal power back. Woo, woo! Awesome. Well, you know, Rita, anything you got going on, any coaching programs or anything you want anyone to tell them about?
Absolutely. Every month I've been doing a different workshop based on, what's going on for the month. And next month we're going to be doing boundaries. This month we're doing guilt and shame. It's it's a 45-minute healing workshop where people can buy it. It's like $39. You listen to it even in the background, do the exercises, and you'll let go of a tremendous amount of guilt and shame. It's like 45 minutes. A healing, it's wonderful, because if you follow the protocol, you're going to get so much stress off of your system. So yes, if people are looking for it, they can find me on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, reach out, send me an email, and I'll make sure that you get on the list and that people can get these healing workshops every month. And at the end of a year, then, the hope is you've gotten so much crap off of your system that you're in a way better place. This is like an accelerator. It speeds up the process of healing rather than 20 years in therapy on Tuesdays at 2 where you just talk about your problem.
Yeah, it has to be way more than the talk. So if you're one of those people who's out there that's just doing the traditional therapy, science has now proven that when you do this kind of work, that something that would have taken you 10 years in a traditional therapy situation to get through, you can now get it over with in 30 seconds. So I would highly encourage doing some of this work. And by all means, juliemurphy.com. I'm doing quarterly group coachings. You guys can sign up. They're in 3-month chunks. And by all means, I have my books that I get to you guys for free. You just have to pay for the shipping. Go to juliemurphy.com and we've got all those goodies there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.